Hey, and welcome to KCK Guitar. I'm Kevin, and today we're going to be analyzing and learning how to play a solo authored by the spectacular Welsh guitar player Chris Buck. Chris has his own YouTube channel, which I encourage you to check out, and he releases videos every Friday on a series he calls Friday Fretworks. And recently, one of those videos was a showcase of a 1959 Gibson Les Paul, which is, of course, a legendary vintage guitar, affectionately called a burst, and listed on musical marketplaces at a cool $250,000. And the reason that I am making this video is because the solo that Chris played on one of those guitars was worth every cent of its value. Now, normally I would hold on to the analysis of the music until after you have heard it yourself, but I want you to listen to something specific right off the bat. And that's the fact that Chris is a phenomenal storyteller with the instrument. And I acknowledge fully that that is about as cliche an observation as you can make about a good player, but I find that it's actually seldom true. But with Chris, it absolutely is. And we will talk later in this video about why this solo is exemplary of that, but I wanted to plant that seed in your head in advance. So you should, of course, go listen to Chris play this thing. Check out the original source material. It's linked below. But half the joy of learning the solo is in the ability to perform it. So I will go do that right now. Well, there you have it. Clearly, I am not Chris Buck, but that's what happens when you try to imitate the inimitable. You come up short, but I know the solo well enough to have a good foundation for analysis and for teaching. So why don't we go ahead and get on into it? The solo has 5 choruses, 4 of which are single note playing by and large, and it's sort of an intro chorus where he's more or less showing us what the chords are. So the chord progression is B minor to F sharp minor 7 to A major to E major to B minor to F sharp minor 7 to E, and then it hangs on that E for twice as long as all the other chords. One time through, those 8 bars like that is going to be one chorus. So the way that he starts this thing is really by really just explicitly stating the chords. So he just plays this straight ahead B minor chord like this, and then he plays an F sharp minor 7, where his pinky is grabbing this E, which is the minor 7th, on the 5th fret. So you sort of have just like an F sharp E minor bar shape, but then he moves the pinky here. Then he sort of plays a Hendrixy thing to do the A major, where he's sliding with his thumb up. Right, so he's got this A, then he's hitting this B actually, and this E. And the reason the B is there is because it's just he's going to hammer on the C sharp, which is the 3rd of A right here. So it's really just anchoring for that. So he's sliding through that and hitting this A right here, which is just a passing tone for him to hit this G sharp on the 6th fret of the D string and a B on the 4th fret of the G string. So all of that is E major, right? So and then a little walk down melody. And then he slides up. He does it with his thumb. So it's like this. So this right here, I would play it like this, kind of more of a jazz thing. Is just a B minor 7th on the 7th fret, and he grabs the 9th right here. So he goes on the 9th fret, the C sharp, and while that's ringing out, he smacks the harmonic up there on the 19th fret. And then he goes to the F sharp minor 7th, this time an octave up, and he does a little hammer on the A bar shape. And grabs the E on the 12th fret of the 6th string there. And then as our final chord is hitting, which is the E underneath, he just plays a little 6th sequence. And that's very nice melodically. It's also interesting that this right here is a G sharp and a B, which is the 3rd and the 5th of your E major. Then he plays here, which is a C sharp and an A, which is your 3rd and your 5th of F sharp minor. And then he hits this D and this B, both on the 12th fret, and those are, of course, the root and the 3rd of a B minor. So he's hinting at E major, F sharp minor, B minor, which are all chords in the progression, and that's leading us into our second chorus. All right, the second chorus is where Chris begins playing single note phrases, and he starts us off with this line. So the very first thing that I want you to take stock of is where on the guitar neck we are. We're about halfway up, sort of playing out of a 10th fret sort of position, and that's, pretty high up the neck to start your solo, especially considering we're playing on the top 3 strings. And this shape right here is one to focus on. It's almost like a D major kind of, but it's easy to think about this as the second position in the B minor pentatonic sort of shape. Right? That sort of thing. Especially because B minor is the first chord in our progression. I would actually encourage you to think about it instead as having this 10th fret on the B string, which is an A, as your root note, which would make this sort of the third string, or excuse me, the third position pentatonic shape, more major sound, commonly known as the BB box, right? You get a lot of the that sort of sound. So we're going to be playing out of that a fair bit in this solo. And we have both B minor and A major in the progression, so that's important. So anyway, we start off with this, which I love because we've got 3 pitches there, but with only 1 attack on the string. So he starts us off with something that's just so inherently electric guitar specific. It depends on the electric guitar's ability to sustain. It depends on the ability to modify pitch through a technique such as a bend. And it just puts us into that electric guitar state of mind right off the bat. So he's bending up a whole step, and then another half step, and then bringing it down. And then, very similar. Da, 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 da. And then he's going to, you're going to just grace note on this C on the 13th fret. And so many of these grace notes and this percussive playing and these minor details are what makes Chris Buck's playing stand out and really sing. So make sure that you are not glossing over those details, right? I mean, this sounds a lot better than and that's the genius of Chris Buck's playing. All right, so then as the chord progression is shifting to an A major, he's coming up here to the 15th fret, which is a D, but he's bending it up a whole step to an E, which is the 5th of that A. You got to make sure you you get that bend correct, which I did in the performance that I put in this video. I totally botched that. But so you want to hit this note. So back down to the 13th fret. And then from here, you really want to get that slide into the G sharp on the B string on the 9th fret. And anytime we're hitting that G sharp in this solo, you know that you're in E major world, because G sharp is the 3rd of that E major. And then it's going to flip back over to the B minor. So a half step bend from that G that you landed on back up to A. And then he lets it down, slides it down to this 5th fret, this E, and then up again to the F sharp. And that F sharp is happening over the B, which is the F sharp is the 5th of the B. All right, and so then we're going to come down into first position pentatonic land at the 2nd fret. So F sharp, think F sharp minor, pentatonic. He plays fourth fret, 2nd fret, 4th fret, 6th fret, strikes it twice, half step bend up, and then he's going to come down from this bend and slide into the G sharp on the first fret of the G string. So that together is. This E is playing, then he brings that G sharp up to an A while the E is playing. So it gives you this suspended sound, this right here, which just wants to resolve to. It's basically what he's doing. And that's going to lead us into chorus number 3. But pay attention to where we started this chorus up here and where we ended. We're all the way back down at the bottom of the neckboard now. We've got all the guitar's register headroom in front of us to take this solo anywhere that we want from here. All right, so we're down here in this area of the neck. We're going to open the third chorus with just this huge hold of the F sharp on the second fret of the E string. So he just bangs it. And that is the 5th of the B minor that's playing underneath it. And as that chord changes to an F sharp minor 7, he grabs this B on the second fret of the A string and bends it up so that the pitch is a C sharp. So the 5th of the F sharp minor 7. And he's extremely patient with that, and he holds it until the chord is about to change to an A. And he does this little move where, as he's letting the bend down, he slides up a fret, back down, pulls off. And then again, without even attacking the string, slides up to the 7th fret on the A string, which is an E. And the chord underneath, again, has changed to an A. So, over the B minor here, he played an F sharp, the 5th. Over the F sharp minor 7, he played C sharp, the 5th. Over the A, he's leaning on an E, the 5th. So the 5th is how we're connecting melodies right now. And what is so spectacular about this part of the solo, which is probably my favorite part of the solo, is just how melodically he's playing low on the neck. I always have a tremendous amount of difficulty achieving that, writing melodic lines, playing melodic lines down here on the net. I always just want to riff it out. All right, so he's going, and then from that E, he plays this sort of really melodic descending A major scale. And then he lands on this. I like to think of it as a power chord that doesn't have perfect tonality. It actually has major tonality. So what he's doing is he's playing this 4th fret on the E string, which is a G sharp, and then the E on the 7th fret of the A string. So that's an E. It sort of has this lower power chord texture to it, but it's got a lot more grit and character. So all of that went. Start thinking the fingering here is going to resemble your first position pentatonic in F sharp minor. So what does that sound like? Right? We're just playing it an octave up. So there he's doing that thing again where as this bend is coming down, he's sliding in and out of the fret right above it really fast and then pulling off to this A. And then he kind of walks it down really fast. Okay, so onto this G sharp, which we know now means that there's an E playing underneath. And of course, it's that last E in the chorus, which is going to sustain a little longer. And right here, he really begins ratcheting up the tension. He tremolo picks. Sort of 2 steps up, 1 step down the A major scale. These are the 1st fret, 4th fret, 2nd fret, 6th fret, 4th fret. And then he does this move where he slides up to the 9th fret. And all in one maneuver, plays in this shape, which is you're going to slide 9th fret on the G string up to the 10th and back. Play the 6th fret on the G string, 9th fret, 9th fret on the D string, and then the 6th and 9th fret on the G string again. It's a little tricky. That's what you want the sound to be like as a single piece. And once you have that, it kind of just repeats the pattern up 2 frets. And instead of having your fingers 3 frets apart like this, you just have them 2 frets apart. And then, where are we? We're kind of back in this A major BB box. And that's bringing us, that's where we are to start the 4th chorus. But check it out. We're back basically where we started. We started right here, right? And that's where we are now. But we're way deeper into the solo. The dramatic context is so much different now. We've advanced so far, talking about telling a story with the guitar. You know, everybody's familiar with that graph of story structure where you have the exposition and you've got the rising action, and there's a little pause in the rising action before it resumes. That's where we are right now. All of this stuff was the rising action, some really intense building of tension, but it all gets released right here. And things slow back down. All right, so we're coming into the 4th chorus now, the 2nd to final chorus. The last chorus was all about building tension and rising action, and we're going to get some more of that rising action and tension, and we're actually going to hit the pinnacle of this solo in this chorus, the climax, which is then going to induce the falling action. So you're coming out of all of that exciting, and then your first lick in this chorus is, so we're in that BB box. Just sliding up to cap the phrase on the this C sharp. And then he plays a really slick lick, same shape. So what he's doing here is hammering onto this B and then bending it up a whole step, letting it down a little bit, and then bringing it back up without reattacking the string. And then letting it all the way down, and just as it's all the way down, that grace note thing again. So all of that is all in that BB box that we talked about earlier. Then he's going to bend up a whole step on the 12th fret of the E string, and again lets this down all the way and brings it back up, and attacks it again once it's back up. And then we're going to walk down, and he's going to slide into this C sharp right here, and then catch the A right here, which is really important because we're going to go into a very fast phrase. And this is our big hint that it's in A major. So that again is. Now once he does that, he plays this. And this is where it gets fast, so I'm gonna play it slowly, but you'll have to work it up to speed. So this is an A major triad. The root's right here. Pay attention to that because we're gonna see it again shortly further up the neck board. All right, so he plays this. Then we're back up in this shape. So I'm gonna just play you that whole big long sequence, which goes a. Very slowly, so you can play back the video and piece it out for yourself. Just know that it's in A major, and it's really just about getting up the neck board to this E, to this B, the 19th fret on the E string, because that's where the climax is going to happen. So again, this is all about tension building. But all right, so play that back. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. You should be able to see the finger placements pretty easily there. So once you're there, he plays this. That's our climax. And it's getting those three pitches again from a bend on B, which is exactly how he started the whole solo. Is basically what we're getting. He's throwing back to that motif. All right, so comes back to this A, and then we're gonna hit this G sharp. By now, because there's an E major underneath. And the final phrase of this chorus is. So what is that starting with? It's that shape that I was calling out earlier right here. It was A. Now he's playing it on an E. So all that is outlining an E major, but bending up on the third right here. Walking down to another G sharp through the A major scale. Grab this E right here. Sliding down. We're after the climax here, so this is falling action. We're literally falling back down the netboard. And now we're kind of getting into a familiar F sharp minor, B minor area. So that's our final little micro phrase of the chorus. Sliding up. I'm thinking about this playing out of a B minor pentatonic. Right, and ending on this B right here. The final chorus, we've already hit the climax. We have begun the falling action. All we've got to do now is land the ship gracefully. And so we finished the last chorus with this. That was sloppy, but we're hanging on this note B while that first B chord is ringing out. And then as this changes, Chris moves it up to the C sharp, which is the fifth of the F sharp, right? And then, as that chord changes from F sharp minor to A major, right? So he's bending up to on the ninth fret here. This is B, but he's bending up a whole step to C sharp, which is the third of the A that's going on underneath. So we have, and then this move again, where he releases the bend while sliding up really quickly. And then the E is coming around. So this is the third of E. All right, so one more time. It down. And slide up, and we're hanging on this F sharp. And then we just hit a little tag to end the solo. It starts by playing these two notes, sort of a B right here on the G string on the 4th fret, and an A. So what he's actually doing here is he's playing around an E major chord, but he's suspending the 4th, and he's going to resolve it. This kind of the same way he did this earlier in the solo. He's doing something similar. He's playing with that 4th, but letting it resolve down to the G sharp. So kind of out of this bar shape right here, the C shape E chord, where the root's on the 7th fret right here with your pinky, just playing a little tag out of that. And that's your solo. That is Chris Buck's $250,000 solo, worth every penny. Do you see what I mean about Chris Buck being a masterful storyteller with the guitar? He gave us the exposition, where a full chorus where he just played through the chords in a really nice way that was stylistically him. He gave us the inciting incident where he established the motif that he would call back to later in the song, with 3 pitches on a single attack, starting with a bend on the pitch B, and over the course of the next 2 choruses, he raised the stakes. He ratcheted up the tension. He brought us all the way down the neck bar, the fretboard, playing some of the lowest notes available to us, and then all the way back up. He accelerated the rising action into the climax, which is where he called back basically the very first single note theme that he played in this solo. And then he brought us back down the netboard and calmly resolved the entire solo. It's so much more difficult to do than it is to analyze. And he's absolutely a role model of mine and should be for every musician, regardless of, genre preference, that sort of thing. Doing what he did with this solo, I think, is the golden goose man. So here are a few actionable takeaways. I think if you want to play more like Chris Buck, here are a few things that I think that you can do that we talked about in this video, but let's wrap them up neatly here. Number 1, know your fifths, especially when you're trying to play melodically in the lower registers of the guitar. a guy like me who I study the blues, ad nauseum, and that has sort of turned me into a third hunter. I'm always thinking about the thirds, not necessarily the fifths. Like for some reason in my brain, third is greater than fifth because it's got more color. It can be major or minor, whereas the fifth is always that perfect tonality. It's very obvious that you can create some really, really beautiful melodic lines simply by moving from fifth to fifth to fifth through those chords. So I'm certainly going to resolve to be better about targeting fifths in my playing. Number two, use speed as a musical device, not as a showcase. So there wasn't a lot of very fast playing in that solo. It was a lot of big bends, a lot of notes being given room to breathe, um, with a few selective applications of speed. And it wasn't just, the typical guitar wailing kind of thing. The speed was a device used to connect musical ideas and to ratchet up tension, right? It was a storytelling technique is what it was. So that is obviously a lesson that every guitar player can take to heart and needs to work on, and I'm foremost amongst them. And third, the repetition is a powerful tool when used correctly. So he took that single motif which he played to start the solo, and he called back to it at the climax. I mean, he's basically playing the same thing to hook us in, and then he's playing it again to send us to the moon when the stakes are at their highest, and the effect of each of those things was completely different, but extremely powerful. So those are the three takeaways to play more like Chris Buck. If you got something out of this video, please don't be shy. Give me a follow, give it a like, or whatever. This is my first YouTube video ever. So if you found it useful, I hope you'll be back. I'm going to drink this beer in celebration of calling it a wrap on this.